Fricker. We are now live. All right, yay. All right, hey, it's Sue Greenwald here with Awakened Stories. I'm here today with John F. Kennedy Jr. Hey, John, how are you?
I am doing great, and thank
Mm,
you. It's a beautiful day. I was
yeah,
out polishing my new Harley this morning, first thing,
yep.
and Robin stuck her head out and said, "John, you got an hour. You better get cleaned up." And I was like, I didn't want to stop, but it's like to be on your show, I'd stop anything.
Right. Well, I'm glad you're here. And we were talking before the video started with some really cool topics, but we'll talk about them again on the recording. So basically, for those that haven't received it yet or don't know about it, if you purchase this book, Stolen Identity by John Kennedy Jr., this kind of gives the basic story for these videos in our line of questioning. And so it kind of tells what happened to John after his father was assassinated in broad daylight in front of the entire world. All right, so it's an easy book to read, but hard to read the content. It's very heavy. It just rips your heart out what you've been through, John. And so for those that don't know, John went into a kind of a witness protection program. He was bounced around a lot. And the home he was placed in was really a home filled with organized crime where there was drugs prevalent, counterfeiting, child trafficking, kidnapping, and murder involved. And everybody was involved in it throughout your whole life, it seems like, John. And within years, his entire biological family were murdered and replaced by doubles, which is why the name Stolen Identity is so beautiful, because not only does it talk about what happened to John, but it talks about what happened to the rest of his family. All right, so it's a perfect name. But John has been basically tortured, uh, kidnapped for ransom multiple times, drugged, kept in poverty, and it's a horrible story. So I'm sorry to keep bringing that up, John, but it is very
Oh,
interesting that what the son of like the world's most popular president went through. Like most of us are shocked by that. And um, can you tell us, kind of maybe summarize again, why we think the John F. Kennedy that we think should be you, how he ended up dying in a plane crash, and you're here. Kind of gloss over that story for people that haven't heard it before.
um, well, he was my stepbrother. Um, when I was, I don't know, 9 years old, federal government agents told me he was my stepbrother. I didn't believe him. My whole life, I didn't believe him that he was my brother. Um, but later in life, and after his death, I come to realize that he was Aristotle Onassis, his son. He
Right.
was my brother through marriage, but he stole my identity. He had to live with that. His real name, I believe, his real name was George. Um, and yeah, Maria Callas and Aristotle. And I get asked that a lot.
Yeah.
Billionaires don't advertise what they're doing because it's a cruel world. If you have $1 billion, people want to take your $1 billion. They kidnap your children. They murder your children. Aristotle's son Alexander was murdered in my arms. So they don't advertise they have children,
Right. Right.
and people don't get it. They say, "Oh, I read this," and uh, Aristotle never had no kids, or this and that. Well, hello, welcome to the real world. You're being fed spoon-fed information from the media. But yeah, George, JohnJohn was his name. When we were hanging out, agent said, you go by JohnJohn, and that was explained to me because that meant double. So all the people in organized crime, when he was called JohnJohn, would know he was the double of
The
me.
double. Right.
Yeah. And last time I talked to him, well, it was the second last time. The last time I talked to him, I believe they tried to kill us all in that plane crash. But him and Adam wanted to be the top dogs in organized crime. They wanted to be above everybody. They were playing dirty. I believe they were committing murders. I believe he even committed Jackie murder. And that's what did him in. You don't kill your own. Blood is everything. And organized crime, you don't turn against your fellow organized crime members. But Jackie was my mom's body double. The Jackie Kennedy, the whole world knew, was my mother's body double. My real mother, Jackie, was murdered in 75. Well, John and Adam and maybe Caroline was in on it, but they planned Jackie's murder to inherit all the Kennedy fortune that she had, and they screwed up. But he wanted to be the mafia don. He wanted to run New York, and he told me. I even asked him. I said, "What do you want to be the next John Gotti?" And he kind of smiled and smirked and said, "Yeah, I want to run things." Well, that's what it got him. It got him a deep sea dive in the ocean. He was, I believe he was, that was a definite mob hit. His real name was George. They put a quarter in the steering mechanism that made that plane crash. And I believe him and cousin Adam were teammates in this adventure because Adam and him were friends. But I believe Adam was also replaced, Lee Raswald's son. But she was a fake also. She had been replaced. I called her out on that. And so organized crime was really hitting the Kennedy family and all these people hard with pre-planned murder and identity theft.
Right.
They murder these people, they replace the people, and they end up with the fortunes. It's huge. I'm trying to expose what's really going on. Donald Trump is the same thing. So anyway, I believe JohnJohn killed Jackie. Donald Trump, the fake Donald Trump, the replacement Donald Trump, auctioned all the stuff off. Sotheby's auction. They made millions and millions of dollars. Um, and there's a lot of people involved in this, and they're still out there. And I'm trying to expose them to the world.
Right. Right.
But I'm sorry, I'm just rambling. So if you have
No,
any,
no, it's so interesting because we the regular people don't understand how all this works. Now, we're seeing it out there in real time right now with our celebrities and politicians. Like they're wearing masks, they've got doubles. Like it's very obvious now because of social media and we have cameras in our hands all the time. We're able to see it now, like as it's happening. But back then, of course, photography wasn't as good as it is now. Like the quality wasn't good. It was a real pain to take a picture, and you don't know what you were going to get till you developed it. And we only uh like we watched the news, we read the newspapers and the magazines. Okay, that's how we got our information. We didn't have technology like we do now, which makes it so much easier. But so we're seeing it now, like we're seeing all the doubles now. But what's interesting is that some of them are out there and they've been keeping up this facade for years and years and years. And so like the biggest comment I've been getting since we've been talking is about oh well, he died in the plane crash. Everyone believes that. And so again, it is detailed in the book. We've talked about it before, but although this John was in the plane, he did not die, clearly, and you wore a life jacket to save your life. But the other ones, we think, did pass away in that plane crash. In that you saw a body of the person playing you.
yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, we were right in the middle of the ocean.
yeah,
No land in sight that I could see, and there's
yeah,
no way they could have survived.
yeah,
But I get asked all the time, well, why is identity theft? We see it all the time now. We have
yeah,
social media. We see them wearing the masks. It's a takeover of the United States government with identity theft. Identity theft is, I can't stress it enough. It's the top of my list to share it because we're in trouble. And why do they pre-plan someone's murder and replace that person? It's all about the power, the United.
Oh, oh, all right, here we go. Well, I guess they don't want us to get this info out there. All right, guys, I'm not sure what we're gonna do here. We're gonna try to get back on live, and if that doesn't work, I'll record and put this out. But every time we get to a sensitive topic, they freeze our line. So for those that are Jedis, please ask for a clearing and oh, okay. Let's see if we can get them back on. Sorry. Yeah, so any Jedis there, please ask Pithlum to help clear the lines and to shield and protect us from those that don't want the content out there.
Are you there, Sue?
Yeah, yeah. I hung in there because I was like, darn it.
Oh, thank you. The screen went totally blank, and I
Yeah,
had to start over, and it was just like boom.
yeah.
What were we actually talking about?
We were talking about politicians who are basically using identities to control, people and, they
I guess
basically
somebody
get.
didn't like it.
Yeah, they didn't like it. So basically, the politicians, the celebrities, whatever, many of them are not who we think they are, and the real one has been killed off or whatever, or there's sometimes more than one out there, but they're there for, the money for the most part, but also the fame, the power, the control, whatever else it might be. And it is really prevalent. Like if you look in again, entertainment and politics, where we often see these celebrities walking around, you can see that they don't look like they did years ago. Their whole style of whatever has changed. They're dark, they're satanic. You can see the symbolism with what they're doing. And it's kind of more in our faces than it used to be. So, we're able
Yeah,
to
they,
see
they
it way more than we could in the 60s.
well, these
Yeah.
satanic cults, when they do this identity theft, um, they feel it gives them power when they put it right there in front of the whole world to see that they're
Yeah.
lying to you. Just like John, George, being on all the Tonight shows, Oprah Winfrey. And Oprah Winfrey is a great example because they had George sitting there on the couch with no
Yeah.
earlobe whatsoever. And then on the big screen right behind Oprah, they're showing me as a child with the big fat earlobes hanging down and the dirty brownish blondish hair,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
him sitting there with no earlobes, jet black hair. And they're putting it right out there like we screwed you guys,
Yeah.
and we're getting away with it. So
Yeah.
it gives them power. That's they love
Yeah.
doing it right out in front of the whole world. Like
Yep.
all the childhood photos are of me up to the age of around 10 years old. All the
Yeah.
videos, my whole Hollywood career was right out there, stolen from me. Actually, Jody just sent me the movie with Doris Day, Egg Roll. I'm actually on the movie poster, but she just sent me a message, said your DVD will be here. I can't wait to go get it and play it. But it'll bring back a lot of childhood memories. But I was in so many shows, and they gave my name to this other guy that was 10 years older than me at the time. I mean,
Right.
not 10, whatever it was.
He's
But
older. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, you can surely tell that that kid isn't 15 years old doing the Doris Day show. But they throw it right there, and they're like, nobody's going to catch it. But yeah, all that, you know, putting it out there, receipt after receipt after receipt. The world needs to wake up and do a little research before you comment that I'm a liar or I'm just a fake doing it out for $1 just to sell a book. It's all about justice for what's really been going on. And most of all, I'm concerned that the United States government has been taken over,
Yeah.
and it's so important to me. I love this country so much. We need to fix things before it gets totally broken.
Yeah. We were when I was a kid. I'm your age. We were taught how great the country was. We were very patriotic. We supported each other in every way. And if you had told us back then that this was what was happening, we'd be shocked out of our minds. But now,
Yeah,
unfortunately, not shocked at all. More saddened when I read your book by what you experienced, like experience after experience, dragged out of bed, witness to murder, witness to crime, beaten up, tortured, kidnapped, like drugged. Like, are you guys kidding? Like, why? I don't understand why, other than to mess with your mind, you know?
yeah. Well, they're slowly dissolving America.
Yeah.
When we were kids, at least me, when I was in the classroom, I was taught to say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah.
We would all stand up in the morning before class even started, and we were all looking at the flag, saying the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. That's gone. And things like that, they build up America. These people that stood in the classroom and said the Pledge of Allegiance were putting their lives on the line to protect us. But it's slowly being dissolved. We need to bring it back. We need to have more
Right.
support for our country.
Right.
And one thing that gets me is, you see all these war memorials and things being taken down and tore down. Well, there was a lot of lives lost for the even the Civil War memorials and things. Um, Half of America was fighting a cause that they believed in, but it has nothing to do. It's to me, it's put there so we remember what happened with Civil War and how it affected our country. And people nowadays they're tearing them down.
Yeah.
We need to stop the bull crap. There's nothing wrong with a Confederate or war memorial to make people remember what war is
Right.
about.
Right.
They don't want Americans to wake up to history and every other thing.
Well, they don't want anyone to wake up to anything, but the more I've been doing these videos and all that, the more I've learned how big the lie is. Our entire history has been convoluted. We've been lied to, not for just 100 years or 50 years, but for thousands and thousands of years. Our entire history is different than what we've been taught. Now, that doesn't mean the wars weren't real and that people didn't suffer and die at all. They did, but they were tricked into it many times. Like the patriotism, like, people love their country. They love where they live in their home, but they were tricked by saying, oh, that country over there is going to infringe on what we've got. So it was done for various reasons, power, control, money.
Yeah.
Think of
And
all
nine
those young
eleven
men that were tricked.
9/11 is a great example of
Yeah.
how we can be tricked.
Yeah.
It's a huge example. I mean, George Bush standing on that rubble saying we're going to get even. The Americans didn't question it after that. They didn't. They were
Yeah.
all in. They were like, they attacked us. We're going to attack them. But
Right.
yeah,
Right.
people really need to research, and our CIA, they're masters at starting wars and getting our enemies
Yeah.
to fight our other enemies. It's a lot of spin that goes on, but yeah, 9/11 is a huge example
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
of of that and the power for oil and money and every other thing.
Right,
It,
right.
it,
And again, since the advent of the internet and cell phones, we're seeing things, we're able to discern faster and faster what's happening. And usually I'll see a news story or a headline, and I'm usually like, I don't believe anything anymore. I hate to say it. And then I'm always like, well, who's going to benefit from this? What's the bigger picture? I don't always understand it, but I know that it's not always the truth what we're seeing anymore.
yeah,
And
and we don't have control of history and what's put in books, and just like I remember Webster, the Webster dictionary. And then you had the encyclopedias where they would come and sell you door to door your encyclopedias. We didn't have control of what was put in those books and the
Right.
history in them.
Right.
But
Yeah.
the people in power, like Mr. Webster,
Yeah.
um, I remember as a child meeting the man, and they were talking about putting a new word in the Webster dictionary. Um, well, let's make up a word and let's put it in the Webster dictionary just to show everybody how powerful we are. But it's huge. Average people like me and you we can't change the dictionary. We just can't say, oh, we're going to put a new word in the dictionary tomorrow, and it means justice for all, or whatever, just anything. But we don't have
Right.
that power.
Right.
So it's all pre-programming, and what
Right.
they want, not what we want.
Right. Right. Yes, so we're on the same page there. Like basically, I don't believe or trust anyone. Hate to say it, but it's true, right? And then you have good reason not to believe or trust anyone. You've been betrayed and lied to your whole life, and everything about you that we thought we knew has been incorrect. All right, so we all
Yeah,
thought you were John John,
it
you know?
it
Yeah,
makes a lot of people angry when you say you don't trust anyone. They're like, you don't trust me? No. But I mean, it hurts people's feelings, but it's the truth. I have had my back stabbed by some people that I have loved with all my heart
yeah,
and would die for, put my life on the line, and I've been betrayed. You want to trust them with all your heart, but when it comes down to it, I can't afford to trust anyone 100%. Um,
right.
but you got to hurt feelings, but
Yeah,
it's just reality. It's life.
yeah,
I've been stabbed, like I said, in the back so many times. You cannot trust anyone.
right. So basically it's all about power and control and like getting us to swallow the next batch of lies and spread it around to our friends to keep our friends in line so that they believe the same thing that we're supposed to believe, you know? So let's talk a little bit more about your story and some of the things there. I did get a question last week about who started George Magazine. Like, do you know
It's
anything about that?
I don't. I never even looked into it or worried about it. I knew it was all bull crap
Yeah,
from the start. There's a
yeah.
lot of people. There's one guy on TikTok that is spreading the word that John Kennedy Jr. is coming back to life and all this other stuff. Come to find out, he was a photographer for George Magazine. Um,
Oh,
there was another guy. Um, I believe he goes by West Coast Wizard. Henry pulled up and showed him standing in the background with the real John Kennedy Jr. He's pretending to be John Kennedy Jr., but Henry pulled up a picture of him in the background. So it's all these organized, JohnJohn wanted to become the next Mafia Don. He wanted to be like John Gotti. So it all spins off to the same scenarios. They're all connected. Just like
right.
Epstein, just like Donald Trump, just like anybody else in this power ring, they are all connected. They might sit on the podium bad mouthing each other, but backstage they're drinking champagne and smoking a cigar with each other.
Okay. Okay. So basically there you kind of led into my next question is, we know about the Q movement. Okay, so QAnon came out let's say 2017 and it talked about the plan, trust the plan. And there was a beautifully done commercial and it talked about how you were going to come out in the public eye again and that you were in the background, and it really called to our patriotism. Okay, and then years went by, decoders came out to kind of decipher all these messages, and we were told to wait, trust the plan, watch the water, like all these cryptic things which we all were decoding and waiting for, and basically nothing has happened. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about this before. Nothing that Q said has happened. We're still waiting. We're still watching the water. We're still trusting the plan. And we're waiting for those white hats to show us what they've done, which is, nothing, I mean, they've done some things, but I don't believe it's just them. So I've gotten off a little bit on a tangent, but it's related. So what my question was, they were bringing out a lot of these guys, these channels were bringing out a guy's named Vince Fusco. And they said basically that was you in disguise, that you had faked your death, that you were, like you had escaped and you were, disguising yourself. And they showed you and your theoretical wife always in the audience at the Trump rallies. Do you know anything about that?
No, I do know when they said John Kennedy Jr. is coming back, it's
Yeah,
me. I'm coming back out to expose
yeah,
that John Kennedy Jr., the world knew, is a criminal. He stole my identity. He worked for organized crime. So if these people coming out want to play him, more power to them. But I'm going to expose them. And the Q
yeah,
plan was right. John Kennedy Jr. is coming out, and it's me, and I'm
yeah,
going to make world news. And it all revolves around Donald Trump.
right,
And I can't explain it. I can't. I don't know how words for it. But Donald Trump's a fake. My cousin Donald Trump was murdered and replaced by the same crime ring organization that replaced me. They took out the Kennedy family. They just didn't stop. The people don't know what's really going on, and I'm explaining it as identity theft. They pre-planned someone's murder and they carried out, and they become
right,
billionaires, and they have
right,
all the power. But it's all orchestrated, and you know, all these people are showing their true colors. Um, Donald Trump Jr., that is helping with the Q movement, putting the fake John Kennedy Jr. on Mount Rushmore, how much money David Straight was paid to say, yeah, I was on Donald Trump Jr.'s helicopter and I actually talked to him. So they're just exposing themselves to the world that they're fakes, and I'm exposing that they are fakes.
right,
Let them keep going and see how deep the rabbit hole really goes. But they're criminals, and they keep trying to do some crazy plan. But the key plan is I'm out. I'm coming out. My last name is Quigley. Um, Big Q there. So they're basically running off my story to maybe try to discredit me. It's really hard to say what's in their crazy, demented minds of doing this
right,
all, but I'm exposing they're all fake. Donald Trump is a fake. He's a Hollywood actor. He's playing both sides, and he's not for the people. Trust me. He's just a good liar. He's a good deceiver. He's somebody that has stole a lot of money from a lot of people, and I'm included in that. Um, Donald Trump was my cousin. Straight up, I saw my cousin's dead body. Then we had a new Donald Trump. That's how it works. And it breaks my heart because so many Americans are rallying around the fake Donald Trump like he's going to save them. This fake John Kennedy Jr. is going to save them. And it's part of the plan. It just keeps stalling Americans to the truth. And one of those truths is me getting out my story.
right.
No support. The media is a regime controlled regime. It has become that bad where they won't pick up a story like mine, um, but it needs to be told. And
Yeah.
I threw this out there. I just got me a Harley Sunday. I want to plan a ride. It's just throwing it out there. There's no times, dates, but I want to deliver. I want to ride back east, see how many supporters we can get, and I want to set this book on my father's grave and just see how many people, how much
Give
news
me the
media will
chills.
pick up on it and get
Yeah.
the truth out to the world. They cannot prove me wrong. People, they come, you're a fake. Well, prove me wrong. It can't be done because the truth is God's truth.
Right, right. So let's talk about Donald Trump. So, all right, he went through his first term and he did some good things. I watched almost every one of his speeches, waiting for him to announce some things, which never came forth. Okay, so all right, disappointed, but on we go. And then we have the January 6th thing. And again, we're told it's all going to work out, just chill a little bit. He's going to come back. He's going to, save us again. Well, none of that's happened. All right, we haven't been saved yet. Now they are having these rallies where they're getting thousands of people. Like it's crazy how many people are supporting him. And I can see they need something to believe in. You know what I mean? They don't have, like, they know Biden's not even Biden. Okay. And
Right.
well, maybe they don't, but we do.
Yeah.
And and hence the stolen identity theme. But we're waiting for Trump now to save us. And I don't get it why people are so easily tricked again. You know what I mean? He started to do some good things, but are we really told the whole story is the big question. I don't think we were.
No,
So
it's
we
good
had,
cop, bad cop. It,
yeah,
even when I was young, I was told you can't come out with your story, you can't say anything, you'll be killed. Organized crime is too huge. Just go with the plan this day, you'll get some money
yeah,
that day. Years went by. 40 years went by, and I'm like, nothing has happened in 40 years. All these people telling me, you can't.
yeah,
And then 7 years ago or whatever it was, I came out and said, I don't care if I get killed. The world needs to know my story. But yeah, their plan is, we only live so long. And the longer they stall us, the longer they get away with their corruption. So it's just a stall. It all needs to be exposed. There is no
yeah,
plan. The waiting plan does not work. We need action, and we need to take action. And that's my plan: is to take
yeah,
action, expose them what's going on. No waiting around. Let's do this.
right,
Let's just
right.
plan. Even if we can't do the plans, let's plan it anyway and see what happens. But the plan is bogus. The plan
It,
is it's a stall. It's a game.
in my mind, both parties are, what do they call, different sides of the same coin, I guess is the way you say it. Both parties are corrupt. It doesn't actually matter who you vote for. Of course, the voting is corrupted. We've seen that. Okay, really, we've seen it for 30 years, how corrupt the voting process here is that we know of. But that hasn't even been corrected yet. Like, come on,
Well,
guys,
the
you know?
system is so corrupt and has been
Yeah,
taken over. Organized
yeah,
crime is so huge. People just don't grasp, and they try to put it out that it does matter. They'll get movie stars, Katy Perry, and every other thing saying your vote matters. You need to go vote. Well, it doesn't, and that's why they're putting it out. They're making people believe your vote matters. But organized crime is so huge in the Democratic Party, in the Republican Party. The candidates that they put in place and build up to be the candidate for the Republican Party or the candidate for the Democratic Party are 100% organized crime. So you got two in the end, you got two crime members to vote for. They're all in on it in the same crime ring.
right,
So when you go to the
right,
polls, you say, "Oh, Donald Trump's going to save us this stuff." Well, he was already placed in there to go with their program, not the American people's program. And
right.
it doesn't, it's not going to help the American people. The system isn't working. We need to change the system for we the people. Donald Trump, yeah, he did a few good things for show. He met with Russia.
Yeah,
He met with North Korean leader Kim Jong Un. Which is unheard of. Who is Donald Trump actually? What is it? Is he a communist? He's a Hollywood actor. He's not the real Donald Trump. But he did a few good things, but what did he actually do? Nothing.
yeah, yeah,
Nothing. Absolutely. Did he clean up the homeless? Did he help the veterans? Did he help the border? He pretended like he did, but there's so many things that instantly on day one he could have fixed, but he didn't do it. Um,
right.
they're still flooding the country. They're blaming Biden on it now. Um, it has nothing to do. It's the same crime ring. We could stop it. The flow of drugs, illegal drugs. I got a thing, and our system is so corrupt. I got a thing that looked real yesterday. It was an email from the post office, And actually, it was on my phone message, and it looked legit. It was from the post office, United States Post Office. This is a federal crime messing with the post office, 100%. And they're saying I had a package due, and they couldn't deliver it because there was 30 cents they needed for postage. They couldn't deliver it to my house, and it looked legit. You click on the website, it's got United States Postal Service all over it. And I went to the post office and I said, "Does this look real to you?" She said, "No, it's a scam. We don't message anybody like that." So somebody is on there committing a federal crime, pretending to be the United States government. And our FBI and our agencies are allowing that to happen when they could put a stop to it. Why? Because they're crime ring. They're allowing people to share messages. They're United States Postal Service to get people's credit cards informations. They're not doing a freaking thing about it.
Right.
It's like, why?
Yeah.
Why are they
Well,
allowing this to happen?
and it used to be when if you dropped a letter in the mailbox, and let's say you made a mistake and you needed to pick it out, you weren't allowed to do that. Like to mess with the mail was like a big deal. Okay. Now we've got video evidence of them dropping ballots in the side of the road in dumpsters. Like they're messing with the voting and they got away with it. You know what I mean? Like clearly seen on video, they got away with it. Just like the voting centers. They've got people that you're not supposed to physically leave the center during the whole day until the votes are counted. We see what's happened on camera. They got away with it, right? So are we not like is everyone here seeing the corruption? I think they
Well,
are, right?
I was a truck driver for like 25 years or so, and I actually got a job in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, hauling mail for the United States Mail. They were contract to haul mail, and I ended up working there for about 5 years, I believe, and I would haul loads of mail from Pennsylvania to Virginia, and I actually felt safer because there was attempts on my life over and over again. So when I was actually working hauling mail, I felt okay. I'm if anything happens to me, I'm hauling mail that's protected by the United States government. So I felt a little bit safer. I ended up quitting that job when I felt there was a plan on my life, an attempt on my life, and the things that happened from then on,
Yeah.
all the way to Anyway, I felt safer. Was I? I don't know, but in my heart, I felt safer because I was hauling mail.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
for them to allow people to try to federal government mail, postal service,
Yeah.
that's uncalled for. That's come on, America, get it together.
Well, you have really developed a good sense of security throughout your life, and you talked about this, like you would check into like a motel or something but not stay there because people would come and try to kill you during the night or whatever. And you've in your book and through our conversations you've mentioned that a few times. And like you would sleep in your truck or whatever, or you would say you're going there but you'd go there instead, and the bad guys would go over to where you were supposed to be. So you develop that really good sense of, I always call it a red flag feeling when there's nefarious forces out there after you.
So some of the crazy shit I've done, and it sounds crazy to a lot of people,
Yeah,
but what I've done to save my life. When I
yeah,
was driving that mail truck to Virginia, I would have to sit in a motel room, and after that long 10-hour ride, I was tired.
yeah,
And after a while, they knew I was there. Um, and the things I would think of, like, okay, they might have the room next to me, and they could pump gas through the vent from one room to another, or just the crazy stuff I would think of. I mean, I was wearing a bulletproof vest, but I actually had a gas mask in my duffel bag, um, where if I thought, somebody was going to try to put me to sleep with some poison gas, I would put that on and just fall asleep with a gas mask on. But the crazy stuff
wow,
I did to try to
yeah,
save my life. um,
Yeah.
from wearing a gas mask in a motel room. Sleeping with a 38 on my lap.
Yeah.
I've had to live that life, sleeping with a gas mask on with a 38 revolver on my lap, just thinking somebody could come in my room. And I was hoping they would. I was hoping, I wanted to expose whoever for
Right.
what was done. But
Wow. No, that amount of stress, like it's constant, it never goes away. You can never relax, you can never enjoy, you're never happy. It takes a toll on you physically, emotionally, mentally. And we've talked about the MK Ultra before, that you literally had at least one chip in your head, and they could track you at all times. They knew where you were, right? They could control you. You were MK Ultra. So that's basically a form of torture slash hypnosis. So you could be controlled and made to do things, and just you were never relaxed, and you didn't have anything easy. It was never just like, oh, it's a beautiful day, I wonder what I'm going to do.
yeah, it's really hard. I call it the 1,000 yard stare. Soldiers in war, in combat, they're always looking, always constantly,
Yeah,
and their
yeah,
adrenaline is pumping. They're looking in the treetops and the rooftops and the windows, waiting for that bullet to come at them, just like me. So I've called it the 1,000 yard stare, and it's rough on soldiers, day after day after day of doing the adrenaline and looking for, I have had to do that my whole entire life. um, it's very, very tiring, but
yeah,
I've learned it to live with it. Post traumatic stress disorder, big time. And
right.
King Smarty sent me a necklace, and he said, this is for post traumatic stress disorder, and just having it on calms me down. Um, thanks, King. It means a lot
Yeah,
because
yeah.
being so stressful and worrying, it gets to the point I'll be outside polishing my new motorbike and thinking, I could get a bullet in the head like my father did at any moment. And it gets to a guy when, but it's like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So I live with it. There's nothing I can do. And it's not because of anything I've done, not a damn thing I have done. It's because my father was John Kennedy, and
Well,
basically,
also, they don't want it known what they did to you throughout your life. So, like all this stuff, like we've talked in previous videos about some of the stuff, but there's a lot of stories I don't even know. But they don't want that coming out either, because there's so many. There's Hollywood. You've talked about Hollywood. You've known so many celebrities and famous people, Hollywood people, political thing. You know what I mean? They don't want their names associated with any of that. And
from
you've
Nancy Pelosi to
met
Donald
them.
Trump to Biden, they don't want me in a court of law
Yeah.
whatsoever.
Yeah.
Um, they don't want me in a court of law because, all the
Right.
way to the Supreme Court being controlled and murders being placed to place our, justices in that high court. But there's so much I know about, so much knowledge of the corruption. Um, yeah, from Nancy Pelosi, saying, I'll just keep quiet about the real John Kennedy Jr. Um, it's huge. They do not want me in a court of law. I don't want to be in a court of law for 50 years, so I don't blame them because that's what it would take to, you know, um, the whole world knew
Well,
John
I've
John.
heard.
He was a lawyer. My sister, the fake sister I have out there still alive, um, a lawyer, an ambassador. There are so many people like that I am exposing that they don't. Just think of my sister Caroline being a lawyer. She's not who she says she is. So just think anything she has ever done in a court of law where they swear, tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Your name is Caroline Kennedy. Sorry, she's a fake. So all that shit has to be thrown out.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
any laws that she's ever made, as the ambassador to Japan or Australia, she's a fake. She's stolen someone else's identity and profited off of it. Just think of how many cases like that are out there. It'll take up the courts and the courts time and everything else. but it's all huge. And there's story after story of what I've learned and seen from, yeah, like you said, Hollywood and every other thing. It's it's
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
huge. It is huge.
And you, and most of the, I won't, I shouldn't say it this way. A lot of the judges, the police force, et cetera, are in the back pockets. Like they're either, they've got to play ball and they, of course, are compensated for that or they're in trouble. So that's why, you're not going to get a fair trial at this point. Like even if you were to march into court right now against, let's say, a celebrity or whoever, and say that they're fake and blah, 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 and even provide proof, it wouldn't be a fair trial because they don't want
No,
to hear what you've got to
the
say. They
system's
don't want,
rigged,
yeah,
and I learned the system was rigged. I learned organized crime is huge in fixing the system, but even as a young man, when I was drugged and brought along, and seeing the people in my hometown, the men
yeah,
standing around a corral while a horse trampled a little kid to death, um, you know, it's huge. So the court system, and from me seeing that and remembering that little child was a court justice son. What was done over it, I don't know, to make him sway his opinion, but it was like, we're going to kill your kids, and you make a decision. It's rigged. It is so rigged, and I'm an eyewitness to it being rigged, all the way to Justice Scalia and him dying in the hunting cabin with the hot shot behind his leg, all the way to Justice Kennedy's turning over his justiceship to Donald Trump. It's rigged, and they want it rigged because you know they're making the laws for us. We're all
yeah.
organized crime, but the system ain't working. It's broken. It's corrupt. What can we do about it? We can dissolve it and try to start a new way of life.
Yeah. I think really the first step is getting the story out there. Like most of us on this channel at least already know that there's corruption out there and we're watching it every day. We want it exposed. We want the general population to know about it. Okay. And then you come along and you've got a very unique story and you want the same thing. You want the story to come out to expose the bad guys, if you will. And so what's going to happen from there? I think we're going to have a different political system in the near future. I don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be interesting. And I really am very curious about what the agenda is with Donald Trump. We talked about that a little bit earlier, but I was bebopping around the house the other day and I had a flash like the US is going to try to grab Mexico. We're going to do a land grab. I don't know how, I don't know why I got that. It just came to me and I'm like, okay, so there's something about the border, like all these people coming through the border. We know what's happening. They're going all around everywhere, but and we're giving them money, we're giving them cell phones, like so they're going to put us into what, FEMA camps? What are they going to do? And because we're docile right now. And
Yeah,
I
I don't know much. Um, yeah, I don't even know if I want to say, but the
don't
plan
say it
to
in,
take the
yeah,
plan to take over America.
yeah,
That's what this is all about. The plan to take over America, and it's talking about the border and Donald Trump's border wall and all this. All I know is what I've seen and lived in my life. And Ronald Reagan, I knew Ronald Reagan when I was a kid. I sat on Ronald Reagan's lap. I was a Hollywood actor. Ronald Reagan was a Hollywood actor. I was placed in Hollywood. But as a child, I sat on Ronald Reagan's lap and he pulled my ear till I screamed. And that was his trademark. You can ask the Reagans. I've read about it. That was Ronald Reagan's trademark. He'd grab a kid and tug him by the ear, but he tugged on my ear. Well, when Ronald Reagan was president, Ronald Reagan wanted a border wall. Ronald Reagan had border walls sitting in, even when I was a truck driver, I saw the remnants of Ronald Reagan's border wall sitting in fields, just piled up wall getting ready to be put up that wasn't put up. So Ronald Reagan was at a meeting with all the generals and military services, and they sat down at Ronald Reagan's table.
oh, here we go. Okay, any Jedi's help with Pithalum in your wand? Clear the line, please.
Are we back?
Wow. They really don't want this story out, do they?
That one right there was pretty important. That one right there was the big kicker. But yeah, I sat at the table. Well, actually, they wouldn't allow me to sit at the table. I was just an observer. I wanted to sit at the table and be credit for who I was. But you had Ronald Reagan, you had the military sitting at a table, and they explained to Ronald Reagan then, we cannot have a wall. Americans need a place to flee. That place will be through Mexico. And then years later, Donald Trump wants the same wall. Why? If we have a wall, that's going to hinder the safety of Americans fleeing this country. But we don't need a wall. We can, we can control the immigrants and everything else, the illegals pouring into this country without a wall. We have the National Guard. We have our military. They could set up training bases and other things, and just put people in place to protect our border. We don't need to block it all off where if anything happened, we'd have to blow it all up. So anyway, that was all explained to Ronald Reagan. But what was my concern was the fake Donald Trump as president of the United States saying we wanted a wall. Just him saying that goes against all the commanders that day telling Ronald Reagan, we don't want a wall. But he wanted a wall. And it's been controversy. All these containers in Arizona being put up along the border, then them telling them they had to be taken down. So there's people with knowledge saying, we're not going to advertise it, but we don't want those containers there in case Americans have to flee this, from their homes. It's huge. I just don't get it. All I know is what's being said and what my knowledge was that day. But we could fix so many problems, from day one.
We could we like this is we could go on a rant for days. Like you've seen about the fires down in Texas now. Okay, that have been probably about 10, 12 days now. So they're burning up, of course, the land, but the food supply as well. And just like what they did in various other places, Maui being a big one, like they're just lighting these fires and they're acting like shocked and surprised, like, oh, they just happened to, it's climate change, you know what I mean? And um, only a certain fraction of the population is falling for that. Like we know that those are deliberately set. So there is a motive for them. They want the land, they want the people off it. They don't care about the life that lives there. They don't care about the rights of the people that own the land. And
Well, all that's going on, but you just got to remember back, organized crime's running things right now.
I know.
I remember one large wildfire in California years ago. Huge. It filled the skies with smoke. And I personally know that wildfire was started so the United States government could secretly move truckloads of whether it was nuclear missiles or anything else under the cover of the smoke. So a wildfire in California was purposely lit so our government could do some sneaky shit without our enemies seeing it. And who knows, I don't know what all this other stuff is about, what Maui is about. It's all sad. We have some crazy weapons out there that aren't told to them. I mean, laser weapons and every other thing. It's crazy the
Yeah.
weapons. We have. I was on a nuclear submarine as a young kid. I was hit out on a nuclear submarine, and the powers that even a nuclear submarine has with the ultrasonic and radar waves, they can flip a button and kill things from miles around and make all these whales show up on shore. My personal knowledge of this stuff is crazy scary, but it's not advertised.
Yeah.
They don't advertise what's really going on. Maybe it's a good thing they don't, or to keep us safe. But it's in the hands of the bad guys now. It really is.
Yeah. That's horrible. I've seen, shows about the whales, the dolphins, and the other wildlife just washing up on shore. And when they examined them, they found out that they've been exposed to, like, I'm going to call it a sonic boom because I don't know a better word for it, but these weapons. And so they're doing that on purpose. And so they're testing underwater. They're doing it on purpose. So I wonder what they were planning to do with that. Like, I don't think their plans are going to come into fruition because we have a new sheriff in town and his name is King Smarty. So I don't think any of this is going to happen, but it is fun to talk about and think about, isn't it? Like, we're seeing it happen more and more in our faces in real time. So I never understand, how can most of the population not even understand that this isn't normal stuff that's going on, you know? What happened to you is not a normal thing. You know, you should have been the one that lived this life of, fine education and luxury and doing cool projects and things and helping people. Um, I mean, I think overall you have the best heart ever. You have a loving heart, and that's why you have been spared. You know what I mean? Like, they've
Yeah.
tried to kill you so many times, and because of the love still in your heart, they haven't been able to. But look what happened to your imposter, right? Not a
Yeah.
loving heart.
I'm actually glad. Um, I'm happy with the life I've had to live because I have learned so much. I have so much knowledge,
Yeah,
and what would my life been as the whole world knowing me for real.
yeah,
I'm happy with my life. I always think, well, if I would have lived that life, maybe I would have got into corruption and let the almighty dollar corrupt me. And but I'm happy. I'm happy with,
yeah,
I want better for me, living in poverty and always I'm never going to get away from the feeling of being hunted down like an animal. It it's just reality to me. Um, but yeah, my life probably would have been a lot different being exposed to the world as me.
right. Well, if your parents were still with you, like, if you had we'll call it as normal of a lifetime as possible. Like, of course, having a father as a president kind of takes normal out of the picture, but let's just say they were in your life to set the structure. You can't say that you would go dark because they, I think, were of the light as well, which is why they're no longer with us, you know.
Yeah, and
But
that's hard. That's hard for me.
yeah,
Just the last couple
they
days,
were,
people have shared, videos of the assassination of my father,
yeah,
and I'll when I see that they're trying to share it with me, it's like really can't handle it over and over again. I've seen it hundreds and hundreds of times. I don't need to see it anymore.
yeah,
Whether the driver shot my father in the head or if it was the guy from the hilltop or the guy from the gutter on the street or from actually from the library.
yeah,
It's like my father's dead. Organized crime killed him. They covered it up. I know they covered it up. The government killed him. My father wanted to expose the government. That's why he's dead. I don't need to see it no more.
yeah, yeah.
These
It's
people,
got
these
to,
people that pulled the trigger, they're gone now. But we need justice for why it happened, and the
right.
people still in power to this day that don't want what my father was trying to expose. And I keep reading this quote out of this book from my father. I'm going to read it again because it is huge, and it takes up the whole page in this book. Um, right there, it takes up the whole page. But this is what it's all about. My father, this is a quote from my father. There is a plot in this country to enslave every man, woman, and child. Before I leave this high and noble office, I intend to expose the plan. That's the plan. Um, to enslave us all so they can stay in power and we are slaves to them. That was from my father. My father didn't get to finish his works. They took him out. I intend to keep going and exposing that, and I'll read it over and over again. It's that important. They want slaves of us. That's the plan. And we need to wake up and realize that's the plan.
Right.
We don't need to go with the plan.
I like that. We don't need to go. That's my motto. If there's a plan, I'm going to do what I want, not what you want. But yeah, that is the plan. So we are basically debt slaves. We have to go to high school, go to college, build up a huge debt. Then we have to work the rest of our lives to pay off the debt. Then we have to buy a house, pay off that debt, then the car, and then we have our family. And then after working for 30 or 40 years, we retire, we watch a little TV, and then we die. That's the plan for us. That's not a good plan. I'm not playing
No.
those rules.
I remember, I started working when I was young.
Yeah.
And I remember, washing dishes, night shift, and you get your check. And it's like you would have made $300, but when you get your check, you're barely making 200. And it's like the government
Yeah.
took out this much and that much.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm getting screwed here. And I
Yeah.
learned that at a young age
Yeah.
for working for minimum wage. And yeah, we need to change all that
Yeah.
because we've allowed that to go on for years.
Yeah. Well, again, awareness is the first key. So unless you're aware of what's happening out there, you're just going to do what you're taught to do, right? We're taught to do certain things a certain way. And when you step a toe out of line, your family, your friends, your neighbors, they call you crazy, or they kind of like it's peer pressure to get back into the party line, right? And yeah, we can see that pretty clearly now, that we're, more aware. And
Yeah.
I've learned so much, even in the past 2 or 3 months. It's coming in exponentially. It's really exciting. And it's also kind of soul crushing to see what they were planning for us.
They've been chipping away at us for
Yeah.
years. My whole life I've seen it. The deterioration of this country. Military bases getting shut down over and over again. Um, I was polishing my Harley this morning, and the thoughts that go through my head, but I was polishing where it said "Made in America," and that means a lot because nothing is made in America anymore. We need to,
Right.
like I just said, that they're taking away our military. That's jobs in these cities that aren't getting people to work anymore. The things that they are taking away, American jobs that made in America. We need to take our country back. We need Americans to
Yeah.
make stuff in this country again.
Yeah.
We really, really do.
Yeah. And we need to take care of each other. Like when I grew up, we had a neighborhood. There was maybe 20 houses. I'll call our neighborhood. It was bigger than that, but that's our core. If one of the kids did something wrong, their mother or father were notified by the other parents. Okay.
And the
Hey,
whole
your kid's
neighborhood knew
been.
it.
Oh yeah. Everyone knew everyone's business in a good way, I think. It kept everyone doing wholesome things, right? Like instead of running wild and doing bad things. But people, like if you had extra whatever from your garden, you would give it to someone else, or you'd make them a cake, or you cared about people. You knew who they were. Now, how many of us live somewhere we don't even know our neighbors' names? Or we're like, ooh, that's Joe. I'm not even going to talk to him. You know what I mean? It's a different society than it used to be. And there's
Yeah,
a lot of things we have too, but
it's huge. Me and my son moved to Bullhead, a trailer in Bullhead City, and I went around trying to introduce myself. My neighbors in one house, I walked up and I said, "Hey," and they would not even acknowledge me. This one gal across from me, this guy was working on her car, and it caught fire. I brought him over my fire extinguisher and I set it on the ground. I was like, if you need this, just bring it back when we're done. They never even brought my fire extinguisher back. I didn't know their names.
yeah,
Um, I finally got to know the guy across the street by name. Um, but it's funny, all the houses around me for 5 years, I didn't even know my neighbors. They could have been murdered and replaced for all I know because I never knew them in the first place. But why has America become, no street parties, no getting to know your neighbors, no bringing gifts over? It got to the point I didn't know my neighbors, but on Christmas I was getting boxes of chocolate and just sitting it on their porch. But I still don't know them. Why has America came where you don't even know your fellow American neighbors anymore?
Yeah.
It's sad to
It's like
me. It
kind of
really is.
it's isolation of people, just like, women are mad at men and vice versa. Blacks are mad at whites and vice versa. We're mad at Russia, we're mad at China. Like we're mad at everybody, right? We have no closeness with anyone. We don't have trust anymore, And we like it's just the attitudes have shifted in 50, 60 years immensely, and it's all about material gain. All right. So you have power if you have money. All right. That's automatic power. You have power if you have a title, like if you're a doctor or a lawyer, power there. And, no one, I don't know, it's just different. We've kind of really gone sideways on this, but it's very interesting stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, to be divided, it's really sad. We all need to come together as Americans. We really, really do. I was raised by the Hells Angels. They protected me. They kept me safe. Um, when I was a kid, just a child, I was thrown a rag and told to polish the chrome on a Harley Davidson. The struggles, with them being an organization and the rival organizations over this happened and that happened, and I keep thinking, maybe it was a plan to divide the organizations and hate each other. You got some huge biker organizations that don't get along and are rivals when we really need to put our differences aside and be Americans and not you're one group and we're one group. We really need to unite and put the differences and figure out the
Right.
differences of why we hate each other in the first place. Whether it's
Yeah.
turf over drugs or something, or was our government actually dividing us on purpose so we wouldn't unite and become one and the strongest organization in the world? So there's all this division, all this hatred, when we all just need to come, whether you're black or white or any other color. We really need to come together because we're all Americans. And when you don't know your neighbors, your own neighbors, how can you even be divided? It's sad, and to me, it's all a plot by the government. It might not be, but yeah, there's so much we could do when we are united.
Yeah. And I think that's part of it. It's like we don't associate with them. We're not close with our families. A lot of us are staying in the house and not attending social events or, there's not a lot of public gatherings. I mean, there are obviously, but not like before the pandemic. Now everyone's like, back off. I don't need to be around you. And it's not a healthy attitude. Humans need each other. We need each other and we need to trust each other. And, that's really
And we
been
need to love
lacking.
each
So
other.
it's,
We really do.
yeah, yeah. So we're
There's
on the same page there.
so much hatred,
Yeah,
and we could be sharing love and helping each other. But it's all human. There's people out there, if they see somebody in need on the corner, that'll run up and kick them in the nuts, and there's other people that'll bring that person a sandwich and a cold drink. So it's, I guess that's why we have prisons, because we need them, because there's just plain evil, messed up people in this world.
yeah,
But I wish for a world of love and peace, where everybody can get along with each other, and we don't have it. We really don't.
right. Not at this moment, but it's coming, I think. So, um, you had talked a little bit about Hell's Angels, and I know they are part of your book, and you talked about you were inducted into the Hell's Angels and you did some things with them. And But in one segment of the story, you said how they protected you. So it sounds like someone was out to murder you and they stepped in on your behalf. And
Yeah, I did things for the Hells Angels. I can't talk too much because I respect the Hells Angels as an organization, but they were protecting me.
yes.
Jackie was paying them to protect me. Um, we were at a clubhouse, and federal agents actually threw a hand grenade in to try to take my life of this clubhouse.
Ooh.
This one guy I knew that, I was taught not to use names because it was basically us against federal agents that wanted to kill me. But yeah, the hand grenade ended up under one of those big heavy metal chairs of this man that blew up. They were sitting there picking shrapnel out of his butt. But they were protecting me. Um, I'll have much respect for them the rest of my life for that. I forgot where I was going with that, but
No, no, that's fine. It like the fact that they protected you, a few of them gave their lives for you. Okay. So that shows the closeness of that group. I don't know much about Hell's Angels, like, I'm not in that genre, but
yeah. Well, in short, the Hells Angels were a military organization of a bunch of guys that just wanted to ride motorbikes. That grew from there, but very, very proud. These were military men that were in contact with other military men. Very powerful organization. Um, Huge. But when what's sad is, the spin the government, placed on them, the things that could have been done with the murders and exposing of what really happened. Who knows? But I know they were there to protect me. And Bill and Hillary Clinton, and I got cut off alive for sharing this. Bill and Hillary Clinton, when they were in office, declared my brothers, the Hells Angels, a criminal organization. Declared them a criminal organization when they were there trying to protect me and keep me alive. It was hard. And when I see a Hell's Angel wearing a Donald Trump hat, it really, really gets to me because here you got the government declaring them criminals, and then you got a Hell's Angel wearing a Donald Trump hat trying to help. Um, what information they don't understand is Donald Trump is a fake. The same organization with the Clintons declaring them as criminals. It's all confusing, and but yeah, um,
yeah, it's
it,
frustrating.
it's
Yeah,
it's yeah, frustrating and hard. And I
yeah,
start talking about the Hells Angels that lost their lives. For me, it makes me tear up. It's really hard because
yeah.
they actually died protecting me. They were willing to give, but I was willing to do what I could, walk with my brothers through the valley of the shadows and fear no evil. But much respect to the Hells Angels, much
Mhm.
respect and thanks for what they were willing to do for me.
Right. I'm sorry to bring all these, like pretty much everything is sensitive in your book, to be honest. People want to know the story and all that, and I know it's got to be hard to constantly have to, say it over and over, but right now I was trying to set like a foundation, and I think we're kind of past that point. So, we've done previous interviews and we have promoted the book, Stolen Identity. So that's where you can get the foundation of what we're talking about. And now we're kind of going rogue. We're doing whatever we want to talk about whatever topic comes up, which I think is an organic way of getting the story out there, and people just have, like, most people that are watching this are supporting you. They think what you're doing is very brave, like especially after all the shit you've been through. Coming out and, putting the spotlight on you is hard. It's not an easy task, especially when you have people after you. So what you're doing is really brave. And we're all very happy to support you, and we'll be excited to meet you, especially in the future, the near
Oh, well,
future.
that's cool.
Yeah,
I'm just doing what I need to do. Um, and I can't do it alone. I need
yeah,
I need everybody to wake up and share. it's so important to me, but it's so important to them as Americans. I'm exposing the United States government has been overthrown with criminals. And
Right.
what are we going to do about it? We got to do something. So I hope people, because I'm the best example I can think of. I've been replaced. Was kidnapped and replaced. I'm the son of a president. Who better to expose what's really going on? And I hope people grab onto it and comprehend and share it. Um, and it's much appreciated because they don't want this story out. So
Right.
it's all about you. It's all about these others, the reposting of videos, the sharing of my story.
Yeah.
It's so much appreciated, even the prayers.
Yeah.
Um, there's people that don't want me alive, straight
Yeah.
up. Why would they? Because I'm exposing them as criminals. And the prayers are much appreciated. I believe God has had my hand and walked with me. Um, I can't rely on God to do it, so I have to do it and get the story out. But it's so much appreciated. It really, really is.
Well, your actions matter. So what your belief system, your actions, everything matters. And what you've done is you've proven yourself by going through this, which hasn't been easy, but you've come out stronger and smarter. And now you're like, okay, it's time to tell this story, which is hard. It's not an easy task. You could go on and just live your life. And no one would fault you for that. But you're taking the harder route right now by coming out and exposing all this. It allows a higher consciousness to come in. So let's say I haven't heard the story. I watch the video, I'm like, what? Well, then I'm going to be interested. I'm going to start researching. I'm going to talk with people about it. I'll get the story out more. And, I'll convince myself, yes or no, is the story true? But again, since we've done all this conversation about the government and the stuff that, you know, has gone corrupt, it is not out of line to believe this story is true, right? So we
Right.
know
I
nothing.
encourage, I
Yeah,
encourage people to prove me wrong because when they
yeah,
do the research and they're researching my stories that I've told, there's more stories out there. There's more evidence that they can find that I'm telling the truth. So yeah, it's good in a way, and I appreciate it. Prove me
yeah,
wrong, research me, dig up more evidence that I am who I am, and it's so cool. Um,
yeah,
yeah, I'm getting that DVD in the mail today. I can't wait to go to the post office and get it because I'm on the movie poster for Christ's sake. Me as a child and the whole world never knew it, but yeah, right on a movie poster with Doris Day, and things need to be exposed for what they really
yeah,
are and
yeah.
how they've been lied to so badly. So I hope people use me as an example. I
Yeah,
really do.
you are an example, by you stepping forward, that gives other people the courage to step forward as well. Okay. I I do know some people that have interesting stories like yours that are coming forward, and they kind of overlap a little bit. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's really sad too
Yeah,
because my story is getting out and I just hit over 40,000 followers yesterday. Um, it's huge, but I get so many people emailing me and messaging me, "Hey, my life's in danger. I've experienced this and I can't do anything.
right,
I don't
right.
have the funds to help them. I don't have the manpower to protect them. Um, but we need really to get something going um, with funds or something to help these others where we can unite. But right now, I'll get a message from somebody asking me to help them, and I
Yeah,
can't. I really
right.
can't. I read their emails and their messages. Hey, I went through this. I see videos of other people, my that where they're on a video or whatever, trying to get their truth out like I am, and they're saying, "Hey, my loved ones were killed," and it really hits hard because so were mine, and nothing is being done. If they are not
Right.
doing anything with the murder of Caroline Kennedy, the murder of my mother and her family and my step family, there's nothing they are doing to resolve it. They're covering it up, and these others, they're covering it up also. But we need to do something. We really
Right.
need, and I don't know what to do.
Right.
I don't
You're
have
doing
the
the right thing.
resources to start an organization, but I guess we're doing what we can do right here, exposing it, which is
Right.
awesome. Let's do what we can do for what we can do.
Right. I'd say send them over to King Smarty's groups and have them tell their story there. And a lot of us will help them as, I mean, it's not like we have money or legal resources. I'm not saying that. We'll help them, energetically with God, so we'll help
Yeah.
them.
And I don't know if we're being shadow banned or blocked, to what extent, but there's billions of dollars in my story that have been
Yeah.
stolen. There's
Yeah.
money being made and probably millions being made off of my name and my family's name. And I have not got contacted by one of these lawyers. Not one has said, hey, we can go to your Hollywood career and set things straight. Or we can go to Caroline Kennedy that has stolen all this money from you. Or we can go to Donald Trump. There's plenty of people that in my heart should be
Right.
sued and stop them collecting all this money that doesn't really belong to them.
Right.
There's so many so many scenarios like that people are making profiting off me, but not one lawyer. And I keep thinking, why has not one lawyer contacted me? um I don't understand. So I don't understand. I'm just throwing it out there. Why not?
It's fear, okay? Because look what they'd be taking on, right? Organized crime
they're
that's prevalent in the
they're
United
not
States
wanting
of
to take on
America.
what I'm taking on, and others are taking on
Yeah.
and sharing by sharing.
Yeah.
Maybe when it gets to the point where a couple 100,000 people roll up, to put my book on the grave. And I don't know what it's going to take, but we all need to unite. We all need to make us voices heard. We really,
Yeah.
really do.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
one thing I would love to see.
And you're a veteran too. Like you have you went over I think it was you were underage when you were over there, right? Is that correct?
Oh yeah, I was just a little kid when I was under a bush in Vietnam, shitting my pants and pissing myself.
Yeah.
And those guys were great then. There was helicopter pilots that were talking on the radio. They allowed me to get in their helicopter while they were talking. Who is this kid? Because when after what was done to me there, being told you can't tell anybody, you'll be killed if you say anything. And then I'm talking to a commanding officer saying, I don't know who I am. Was shit
Yeah.
and piss in my pants. What the things that were done to me,
Yeah.
being on an aircraft carrier, being in a nuclear submarine, being in the field. um, I consider myself a veteran. I've done some undercover things. I was on a plane one time that was totally painted black, and my job was to scoop the shell casings and throw them in a drum off the floor because we weren't supposed to be where we were. We weren't supposed to be shooting those bullets where we were, but I was there, so that helped cover things up for our government, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
So many things that are covered up,
Yeah. So
but
you weren't
yeah,
like really, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm proud to have served this country. I'm proud of the things that I have done and will keep doing, but
Right.
not being recognized for my service. It's really hard in my heart. They left me in the field. They had me working. I went through boot camp after boot camp. I wanted to give up. I was being kicked. Wake up, laying
Yeah.
in mud. You're doing this for your family, but all that service that I did, just even the training covered up. I don't know what to say. Why? Why? I got a lot of questions for the government. I really, really do.
Yeah. Very sad. And it's sad. The whole war in general is sad because, I've heard a variety of different reasons why it was even, why were we even over there to start with? I've heard a lot of different reasons. Doesn't matter, but a lot of people lost their lives and for really no reason, no good reason, no good reason.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I knew a few
So
brothers that fought in that war
yeah,
and aren't here today,
yeah,
um, for mental issues, Agent Orange.
yeah,
Um, One guy, I was hanging out with a Vietnam vet as a kid, just going over learning things from him, how to work on cars and things. He died from Agent Orange, and
yeah.
getting caught up in the system with heroin and every other thing.
Yeah.
I was in line at the DMV yesterday, and there was a guy, a veteran, and I was talking to him a little bit, sharing my story for a minute. But the people he saw dying of Agent Orange, and I was like, yeah, I know somebody myself.
I do too. I do. Yeah. Did. Shocking.
Yeah, why they do the things they do.
Yeah.
We need to fix a lot of things. We really do. To me, soldier suicide is right up there in the top of my list. There needs to be full on investigations on why 22 veterans a day are killing themselves.
Yeah.
It's uncalled for. We lose one veteran to suicide. It needs to be taken care of. But 22 a day, and our government isn't supporting or doing
Right.
anything. Um, yeah, I could go on and on and on about that.
Yeah, I know. It's very sad. And I know I talked last time about, well, bring them a sandwich. I know that's ridiculous in the overall scope of things, but when you're hungry, a sandwich is the first step, you know what I mean? Like, and I don't always have cash with me, so uh, you do what you can. Everyone do what they can, even
Yeah.
if it's
Well,
small.
I was in Bullhead City a few years ago. Things were really rough. I was, kicking a can, looking for money on the ground. After a while, you just keep looking for money and it doesn't show up. You show up to the market and you stick your finger in a little coin thing, hoping you get 50 cents or something. Um, but yeah, things really, really need to change. They
Yeah,
really do.
totally, totally. I did that as a teenager when I wanted money. We'd go to the phone booths and try to get a dime, or pet. That shows my age. There were phone booths back then. Yeah, yeah. So, um, you had mentioned, I think it might have been our first time we talked, knowing NASCAR groups or NASCAR drivers. That story isn't in your book. Is that something you could talk about?
um, I was basically taken around. I met Jeff Gordon, Tony Stewart. I never got into NASCAR real big. Richard Petty, guys like that. Yeah, but there's really, really not much that I could talk about. I
Okay.
met him. Um, I actually went to one NASCAR race where I was in the stands, and it was awesome. But it's all connected. I don't know if it goes to the point where it's controlled by the organized crime, for the wagering part of it. Um,
Yeah. Okay.
but it's all connected, just like college football and college sports and
Right.
professional sports. It's all
Yep.
connected to organized crime.
Right. Okay. And a lot of people don't realize that the football and all that, like there's a script, right? That professional football, like this one hurts their knee and can't play, but this one's gonna catch the ball and do whatever, you know what I mean? So there's scripts there and there's a lot of money involved with that.
Oh yeah, just in the betting field of it.
Yeah.
But one thing is the sporting, to me, the whole world is revolved around like professional football.
Yeah.
It's huge. There's a lot of money there, but why is it so huge? And the half hour news you watch, 10 minutes of it is just about sports. Um, it's taking up 10 minutes of airtime talking about a football game or this sporting event or that. Um, to me, they should be talking more about the needs of people,
Right.
and things like that.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I don't know how long a news show is anymore. Let's say it's 30 minutes. They give a portion to weather, which is all fake. They're trying to have us manufacture the weather that they want. Then they give a portion of sports, which again, all fake and scripted. And then they give us the bulk of it, news stories that are really negative. They bring us down and they're all fake.
I
So,
I actually got tired of watching, because where I'm at, I get the Las Vegas news. So you turn on the news station at the top of the hour, they tell you that this pedestrian was ran over, and there was another one that got ran over up the street, or this car accident. Um, they basically get you fearful right off the get go that you
Yeah,
don't even want to watch the news. And then it goes to a story of a puppy dog that was rescued. And then, like you say, you get the weather and the sporting events.
yeah,
What true news is that? Yeah, put it. I don't know. I don't watch it. I would rather watch the
yeah.
Three Stooges or cartoons or something.
I don't watch it either. That's why I don't even know how long a news show is anymore. But we already know we can't trust it, and it's all manufactured. There's always an agenda there. It's always negative and dark. And of course, a lot of the older people watch the news. Okay. And so that's where they get their information on the vaccines and all the other stuff they've got to do. It's horrible. So I don't support the news at all, or pretty much most of what's on TV, you know.
Yeah, I was disappointed this Saturday because Saturday night is Three Stooges and then the monster movie. But the TV wasn't getting the local channel, so I missed out on the Three Stooges and the monster
Yeah.
movie. But it's all
Yeah.
good because I don't even watch it. Um, I like watching cartoons, but I don't watch the cartoons. I just turn them on because my mind's always thinking so fast about other things. It's just in the
Yeah.
background. But I can
Yeah.
say, hey, I watch cartoons.
Yeah,
But
when we were kids, that monster movie, it was called Monster Movie Matinee. That was a big thing, right? And this guy would come on with the black fingernails, and we'd be like, "Oh, I wonder what the movie is," and it'd be like Godzilla, and we'd all get all excited, crazy stuff. But that was like 60 years ago.
no, no, don't go that far back. We'll just say 40 years ago.
40 years. That's funny. That's funny. So. Well, what else shall we talk about? Like, we've talked a lot about the government, about corruption, how things aren't what they used to be. Are there any other like big portions of your story that you didn't tell in the book that you're willing to share? Um, or it doesn't even have to be big, but little stories like you talked last week or last time about Charles Manson, and I got a lot of like, there were people that were really shocked and very interested because again, the story we were told and even the books that were written and all of that were different than what you've said. And I'm agreeing with what you said. It's not what we've been
Yeah.
told.
I was just sitting here trying to think up one.
Yeah.
There's so many. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, Charles Manson being part of the crime families.
Yeah.
Um, is it's all the way from, you get to, I don't know what we could talk about. Well, like John Gotti, for instance. Um, he had killed a lot of people. But John Gotti was a family man. He cared about his family, which is the organized crime family. Um,
Oh,
yeah, but they'll take a guy like John Gotti and Hollywood will build him up to be like a celebrity. Um, it's
yeah.
hard for me to take. You'll see a miniseries of the Gaudis or something, and this is organized crime. You don't hear about the victims. The victims just disappeared and ended up in the river, or in a 55-gallon drum somewhere. Um, but why does Hollywood build these people up? I think it's just part of their agenda, um, to make
To
these
normalize
criminals,
it.
yeah, to
Yeah.
make the criminals look like
Yeah.
they're wonderful.
Yeah, I think they made a movie or a Netflix movie about him. I don't actually know, but I think they recently also made one about Jeffrey Dahmer, the guy that would kill the people and then eat them. And like they put they have it, I think it's on Netflix, and I saw people posting about it on Facebook, and I'm like, dude, this is not like funny. This is like people died. This is not a romantic story. Like they romanticize these people, like they make them up to be much better than they were, you know?
Right.
And again, what do we really know? Like, I don't know what is the actual truth or not,
Um,
but
I don't know if I remember it. There was an attempt on my life in San Diego. Um, it was set up, orchestrated by the Quigleys. Um, I got a new cousin that I'd never seen before, and these cousins had a auto body paint shop in San Diego. They came to me and said, "Oh, we need help. We need you help. You know, sanding on cars with our business." So it was all orchestrated for me to go down there. I believe it was a plan to take my life. Well, if you remember the Scott Peterson case, where he killed his wife Lacey, and her body ended up being found in the bay. But anyway, that's a story. I don't know if it's in my book or not. I told a lot of stories talking with Jackie. She put in what she thought needed to go in. But so anyway,
right.
it's orchestrated for me to go to San Diego. I actually went to a bar in San Diego and I was freaking out because I thought my life was in danger. In the auto shop, one guy tried to hit me in the head with a baseball bat. I don't know why he did it. I'm John Kennedy. I don't usually ask why. I just figure it's because I'm John Kennedy and people told lies about me. But I actually had to pull a weapon out that was in my waistband, and pointed at this guy's head because he was going to hit me in the head with a baseball bat. I was also at this auto body shop in San Diego, and I'm freaking out because there's a hit on my life. So I'm taking all, I'm paying attention to the rooftops and the windows and the trees. I'm waiting for something to happen, but I'm standing with my so-called new cousin outside the paint shop. There was this black guy. He was walking towards me. And I looked at him and I could tell something's not right. He was like in a trance. And I was like, I hope this doesn't turn into something. Um, but I looked at my cousin that was standing there. I looked at the black guy that was approaching us. And I said, I hope I don't have to kill somebody. Um, my cousin
Mm-mm.
took off his hat. He went like this, put his hat on. The colored guy instantly turned around and walked the other direction. I was in the shop. I was all by myself, and I saw out of one of the windows this one man walking on the side, walking to the back of the facility. I then heard the metal door trying to be open that was locked, and I was like, "This guy's coming to kill me." But anyway, I went to a bar while all this was going on and met Scott Peterson. And there was 3 or 4 men there. They were playing pool, but one of the men said, "This is Scott. He's going to be the new um, boss." And I was like, "Well, why is he even telling me that?" Um, then my cousin took me to another place where there was a pool, and he was waiting around all frantic and nervous. Um, and I was like, "Well, somebody's planning to kill me here." My other cousin, it was actually my cousin and his son that was at this auto paint shop. Um, my cousin, things were just acting really crazy. My cousin brought me some Taco Bell and set it on the counter, and he kept persisting that I had to eat. I kept saying, "I'm not hungry." Well, I don't like to eat food that somebody else hand delivers me because I believe it's poison. And I basically said,
Yeah.
"I hope there's a lot of hot sauce on that Taco Bell that you brought me." Well, my cousin grabbed the burrito, the Taco Bell burrito, threw it against the freaking wall, and said, "I should have poisoned my son's burrito instead of yours." So he admitted right
Oof.
there that he had poisoned my burrito. So things got really crazy. I had a suitcase full of things at their house. They had had me pawn my pickup truck. Anyway, basically, I went back to their house to get my belongings, and they had cleaned out the entire house. They were waiting to kill me and moved down. Um, so I was in San Diego, homeless now, no place to go. I'm kicking a tin can. But the Scott Peterson case is huge because I met Scott Peterson while all this confusion was going on. I worked for Ron Frey when I was young. I laid bricks with him. He taught me how to mix cement, lay bricks. I worked for the man. Well, his daughter was Lacey Peterson, Scott Peterson's mistress, of why he killed his wife in the first place. So I knew them both. I met Scott Peterson. I knew Ron Frey's daughter on Fox News for months and months and months. They even interviewed Ron Frey. Um, you know, um, so it was all connected. But why did they put the Scott Peterson case on the news day after day, night after night? I mean, it was on all the news organizations for months. Um, was it ever brought up to me why they were connected, how they were connected? But at the same time, I met them both. Um, it's really confusing of why all this was going on, how I knew Ron Frey's daughter, the mistress of Scott Peterson, that killed his wife Lacey, is all so connected, but I don't know. There's a lot of things I don't know. All I know is I was in San Diego homeless, kicking a tin can, going, I'm John Kennedy Jr. Why are all these people trying to freaking kill me?
It's crazy. So when they told you Scott Peterson was going to be the president, what was he going to be the president of?
No, the boss. He was going to be
The
a mob
boss.
boss. He was
Oh,
probably being put in place to run San Diego,
ah,
for the organized crime. But anyway, somebody
okay.
didn't want him to be that mob boss, so he killed his wife. She ended up in the Bay. She was pregnant at the time. But yeah,
Mhm.
by what I learned, he was going to be a bot. His crew was there. Scott Peterson made fun of
Oh,
the duct tape on my shoe. I didn't have money to buy shoes. I was put in poverty. I was being orchestrated by all the Quigleys and their cousins, but they weren't paying me a dime to work day after day on these cars, sanding them to be painted. But I had duct tape on my shoe. I was relying on them to feed me. It's all crazy with all these people coming in, um, like sitting there being, waiting for someone to hit me in the head. What was told to this man that was going to hit me with a baseball bat? Um, I don't know. I don't have all the answers. All I know is what I saw and the attempts, what I thought were going to be on my life,
wow.
connected
Mhm.
with Scott Peterson and that whole thing. But why the news media picked up on it day after day after day? They covered the trial day after day, and I was like, it was all rigged. The whole thing was freaking rigged.
It
And
sounds like it because they didn't first they liked him, then he must have done something, then they didn't like him. So for all we know, he could have been framed or he could have done it and they just really amplified it.
but
I
it's
don't
kind of
know.
like the same story as John Jr. in the plane crash and them
Yeah,
dying. It's kind of the same scenario. They picked up on it. They advertised it day after day.
yeah,
But why? So
yeah,
yeah, it's all controlled
yeah,
news. I
yeah.
mean, they had him guilty on the news media before he was found guilty. Um, did he actually kill his wife and his unborn child? I don't know. Did the mafia kill it and set him up? I don't have the answers. All I
Right.
know is they're all connected before what happened because I was there. because
Interesting. Yeah,
because I met him, you know, being at Ron Frey's house, I'd show up there for work, before we would go lay bricks or dig trenches for this or that. Um, seeing those little kids' bicycles and Amber Fry, Scott Peterson's mistress, belonging to, so I watched her grow up, and then all of a sudden, she's a mistress to Scott Peterson. But how come why didn't Fox News interview me and let me tell my story of how I worked for, Ron Frey, her father, and knew her as a kid, and then also met, Scott Peterson in San Diego. I got a lot of stories I could come up with
yeah,
that I haven't shared in my book. It's like
yeah,
me and you. I was talking with Jackie, the writer of the book, and we were just talking like this, and then she pulled out whatever she thought was important and put them in that book, which is cool because
yeah,
I could have never wrote that book myself.
yeah,
I have a hard time just writing, what I need at the grocery store.
Yeah. I get it. Well, it's very interesting, and I know, again, it's like every time we talk about it, it's gotta hurt, and I'm sorry to do that, but it's important to have the story come out. And you never should say anything that will get you in trouble, but we're very interested in it. But I think what you've done is very brave, and you're paving the way for other people behind you that are a little bit afraid to tell their stories. Like there's going to be a lot of stuff coming out, and it's not an easy
Yeah.
thing to go through.
Well, I have a lot of memories that are involved in a lot of my stories. I
Yeah.
was watching a video on the power of crystals. I've always liked crystals. So I shared a video this morning on Facebook about this guy saying, how to charge your crystals, how to get rid of the energy that are in negative energy in your crystals. But before I went to San Diego and met Scott Peterson and all the attempts on my life, I went to a little Indian camp in Coarse Gold, California. But it was like I hit a jackpot of crystals that day. I seen one on the ground, just sticking out of the ground. It was a perfect crystal, pointed on both sides, crystal clear like glass. So I started digging there in the ground. But I actually, within 2 days, I found a shoebox full of the most beautiful two-pointed crystals. It was
Mhm.
almost like a gift from God. But I filled up this shoebox, and that was one of the things I took in my suitcase to San Diego. And when I went to that house and it was cleared out, the house I was supposedly be staying,
Right.
I had my shoebox and my little suitcase, and I was making the kids, little necklaces with these perfect crystals that I found at this Indian camp. And when I got there, everything was gone. I lost that whole shoebox of crystals amongst, my couple clothes that I had. So I was
Yeah.
in San Diego, um, with the clothes on my back, with no vehicle, no money. I was hungry, and I'll never forget it because I'm John Kennedy Jr. Why should I have had to go through any of that, any of it whatsoever? It's almost like I was being played by both sides.
Totally. Totally. I had a question last week. Do you remember any other family members like your grandparents or anyone you know, we've talked about your parents and your sister a little bit, but
I
they just
remember I remember both sides. I remember the Kennedys. I remember Rose Kennedy. Um, but what I remember is her being controlled by organized crime. I remember that she knew that there was a fake John. Um, I went over there one time and the agent said, "Hey, John's here." And she was like, "I don't even want to talk to him." And she said, and the agent said, "No, the real John." And she got all teared up and gave me a hug because
I'm getting chills.
she knew what was
Yeah.
going on. Um, I remember the Quigley, my grandmother with the Quigleys. Um, it's like she wasn't my real grandmother. Um, it's almost like she was paranoid that I was there. She was upset that I was there, that they were hiding me out. She was scared for her own life, I believe. I remember that some of that stuff, and it's all so crazy because I was just a child. Um, I remember when they took me to her hospital room when she was dying of cancer. This was the Marie Quigley crisp, I should say. Um, but yeah, so I have a lot of memories of the family members. I remember going to the Quigleys, and one of my grandfathers was in a some kind of ventilator, but he still, even though he had lung problems and they had him in this ventilator thing, he still got his pipe out and blew me a smoke ring, and I put my finger through it. He died like the next day. So I have memories of both sides. I was confused because how many grand folks can I have? Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, when I was in Hollywood doing the movies, I had a pretty extensive Hollywood career. There was a named Jody that pulled them all up. She even sent me the DVD that I was in. But what they would do is they would have me for like 2 weeks. I would go with Doris Day. I would hang out at Doris Day's house. They rehearsed the situations over and over again. In my mind, I was calling her mom or whatever. Um, but that was just to get me familiar with all these people. But it was over and over again with different. I was tossed around for weeks at a time. It was confusing as me as a child, especially then, them placing me, under MK and back with the Quigleys and giving me their random, regiment of drugs every morning to make me forget what I was even doing and where I was. It's crazy. I was a slave. I was a slave to the government. I really was, as a
Yeah.
child and growing up and my whole life under control of what I did and how I did it.
Yeah. When you're a little kid, you don't know if someone grabs you by the hand and says, you're going here and this is so and so, or this is that. You don't know any better. And you trust the adults. They're the authority figures. And it's unfortunate that you didn't have good role models on like you should have had. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
I had a really confusing, crazy life. I really, really have.
you definitely did.
And I'm
But
trying to share it the best that I can. And, there's a lot of people that don't want me sharing. But I was taught, just like when I was kidnapped and thrown in that bathroom trying to write that note for help, just beat down and kicked and yelled at, saying you'll never write a freaking note for help ever again in your life, and then being kicked again to near death, where I'm laying in the bathroom floor, scratching on the baseboard, the baseboard on the floor that was white painted, scratching my initials. JFK was here, just in case I die. A lot of crazy stories, a lot of.
horrible stories. Yeah, not typical. You've had a very interesting, crazy life. And like I said, you're very, very brave for coming forward and doing what you're doing. And we all appreciate what you're doing and talking about these hard topics. Yeah.
Thank you. Well,
And
some of them I
and
don't appreciate. The ones I'm exposing don't, but yeah, I got a lot of lions, a lot of beautiful, beautiful, loving people willing to get my
yeah,
story out and share it. And
yeah,
I'm so appreciated. I really
yeah.
am.
Yeah. Well, I think we're at a good breaking point, and I am willing to talk to you as many times as you like. So
Let's do it
anytime,
again.
yeah.
And with that said, I get hit up all the time from people that want to talk to me, and I get really busy. And but yeah, these people that want to talk to me also, it's all about, my life is all about trying to get the truth out and wake up
Yeah.
America. So
Yeah.
you are so much appreciated, Sue. You really are.
So are you. Like
So many people that I need to thank, but yeah.
you're an inspiration to others. Like there's a lot of people that have had things happen to them and they've been afraid or they haven't, thought maybe it's time, but it's time to let the truth come out.
Well, why don't
So,
we let people know right now when we're going to do this again so they can
okay.
put it on their
I'm open.
calendar? You just
I'm
let me
open.
know, Sue. My calendar is open also.
What's today? You want to do next week or like how often is good for you?
Yeah, let's do it again next week. Let's
All
let
right.
them all know next week we're going to be doing it again so they can share it.
You want to do it next Tuesday, same everything as today? Tuesday at noon?
Let's do that.
All right. So we have what?
She said I got something next
You
week.
got a show on the 19th. That's Tuesday the 19th.
That's at 7 o'clock though. That's
okay.
fine. Yeah, let's do it.
Tuesday at noon, Pacific time. So that's three Eastern time, everybody. So mark your calendars and share around. I'll put a graphic out there.
And
And
that's the 19th, I believe, right?
yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time so much.
Thank you so much. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you. I really,
All right.
really